Jinxi, the Magistrate of Jinzhou and the next best DPS in the game, will soon be dropping, just after she solves her daddy issues with Jue, and if you are looking to pick her up, there will be a few things you need to consider in order for your account to be prepared for Jinxi's arrival. So I'm gonna run through all of the Ascension and skill upgrade materials Jinxi requires, the best echo build you would want to farm, the weapons Jinxi can use, and the value she would hold for your account. Just before you jump right into it, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Okay, I'm going to kick it off with a few standouts from Jinxi's kit. Won't go into too much detail since I'll be dropping a phone guide video on Jinxi when she drops, so do look out for that if you are interested. Jinxi has two different states she will be able to enter whilst in battle, the first being the Incarnation state and the second being the Ordination Glow state. As Jinxi enters these states, her basic attacks, resonant skill and heavy attacks will switch through alternate variations, allowing her to attack whilst in the air and will be able to trigger her unison buff, which acts like a second concerto meter. Majority of Jinxi's damage scales of resonant skill damage, so increasing Jinxi's resonant skill damage through various ways will be extremely valuable to her. Jinxi also has a mechanic called Incandescence within her kit that increases the damage multiplier of her final form resonant skill by a ton. There is a lot more depth to her kit as she does have two different states, but just know on launch, she will likely be the new best DPS in the game. As for Jinxi's Ascension and skill upgrade materials, bear in mind these will be the total materials you will need for a level 90 Jinxi. So you wouldn't need to pick up everything I'll state since majority of you wouldn't have level 90 unlocked. Now including both Ascension and skill upgrades, you're gonna need 29 green LF Howler cores, 40 blue MF Howler cores, 52 purple HF Howler cores, and 61 gold FF Howler cores. As you can see, I am stacked on these cores since I am pretty much trapped in the endless cycle of open world echo farming. Tacit discords only drop either Whispering cores or these Howler cores, so if you have been echo hunting yourself, you should be pretty stacked up as well. However, if you are in need of these cores, there's multiple ways of picking them up. The best way would be to just hop right into your guidebook and hunt down the enemies that will drop these cores. You wouldn't be wasting any stamina, and in the process there's a chance you could pull some good echoes with onset main stats. This would be the most time consuming method to pick these up, but since you don't use any stamina, you can accumulate a ton of these cores if you are echo hunting often. Forgery challenges would be another way to pick these up, and since every forgery challenge does drop these cores, you would be stacking up on a lot of these just by farming for skill upgrade materials for any of your characters. You can also buy cores from the weapon shop if you are stacked on shell credits. You can pick up 60 green Howler cores and 20 blue Howler cores from here, so if you have spare funds and you're desperate, you can instantly pick up some from here. Another Ascension material you need would be 60 Gloom Slows, and you would have to pick these up in the open world. Unfortunately, you can't pick these up at the pharmacy like other Ascension materials, but there's quite a lot of them in the open world, and majority of them being in the Dim Forest, so around the Giant Banyan and Forbidden Forest areas. Now along with the Howler cores you need for Jinxi skill upgrades, you will also need 25 green Waveworn residues, 28 blue Waveworn residues, 55 purple Waveworn residues, and 67 gold Waveworn residues. The only way of picking these up would be from the forgery challenge, so you would be spending a lot of stamina and time in this domain. The upside is you'll be able to pick up Howler cores at the same time, which is great for efficiency. As for the weekly boss to farm, you will need 26 Sentinel daggers from the Jue boss fights in 1.1. So we can't actually pre-farm these unfortunately. However, it's crucial you remember not to touch your weekly boss attempts within the week 1.1 drops, as 1.1 drops on a Friday, so you can use your weekly boss attempts on Jue just before the week ends. Also, you'll need to farm 46 LAG Tacit cores from the Overlord boss Morning Ikes and have 2.2 million credits ready. Again, all of these materials are for a level 90 Jinxi, so you don't need to pick up everything. Just try to pick up each material equally. As for Jinxi's best echo builds now, the best set to go with will definitely be the full Celestial Light set, since Jinxi would gain a 10% increase in spectral damage and an additional 30% for 15 seconds after releasing the intro skill. Due to Jinxi enabling intro and outro skills to be activated more often, the 5p set bonus would be easier to proc when equipped to Jinxi. The best in slot main echo currently is the Morning Ikes, having a pretty quick animation dealing damage to enemies and will increase Jinxi's spectral damage by 12% and resonant liberation damage by 12%. However, Jue is confirmed to be an echo dropping in 1.1, which is expected to be a 4-cost and spectral element echo. So it's extremely likely that Jue will be the best in slot echo for Jinxi, being able to deal damage scaling of resonant skill damage and maybe providing increased resonant skill damage to Jinxi, just like how the Morning Ikes can provide spectral damage and resonant liberation damage. Purely speculation, but it would be fair to assume Jue will be a summonable echo rather than one you would transform into. It would be insane if you could actually transform into him, but due to his size, I would doubt it. The point is that Jinhsi would be able to stay on field to deal damage along with Jue joining the field, allowing you to deal more DPS. The best echo build would be 4-3-3-1-1. But due to Spectra having 2 Spectra 4-cost echoes with Jue's arrival, the 4-4-1-1-1 build will be available for players that are having a tough time picking up solid 3-cost echoes. Now, considering we would need to farm the Morning Ikes for the Elegy Tacit Cause, there is a good chance you pull a few solid echoes off him, and so I would recommend the 4-4-1-1-1 build to players that don't have the greatest 3-cost echoes. If you do, running Jue as the main echo with either crit damage or crit rate as the main stat, the one you would pick would depend on your substat rolls, along with 2 3-cost echoes with Spectra damage bonus and 2 1-cost echoes with attack percent would be the way to go. If you don't have a full 5-piece Celestial Light set yet, you could opt to use a 2-piece Celestial Light set and a 2-piece Lingering Tune set. So that way you can boost your Spectra damage by 10% and increase your attack by 10% with one offset echo. This would be good enough for Jinhsi and just provides some flexibility for those still working on their full Celestial Light set. The full 5-piece Lingering Tune set is another option since it's just a great universal set for DPS characters. So if you have this set built, you can provide it to Jinhsi until you have the Celestial set ready for her. The 5-piece set effect would provide stacks of 5% attack with a maximum of a 20% attack boost. You'll gain a significant boost in attack, but you do lose the attack buff stacks once you switch out, which may just be alright for Jinhsi since she would take up quite a bit of time working up to her Ordination Glow state. So the full Lingering Tune set would definitely be an option, however you should aim to build her best set being the Celestial Light set. Now regarding Jinhsi's weapon options. Her signature weapon, just like every other signature weapon, will be the best in slot for the character they are releasing with. Jinhsi's weapon has a crit rate main stat, which is huge in helping achieve that perfect crit rate to crit damage ratio. Additionally, the weapon provides a 12% attribute damage increase, meaning any character you equip this weapon to, their attribute damage will be increased by 12%, just like the Vedant Summit, which makes it quite flexible. Also, it increases your resonant skill damage up to 48% through using the intro skill and resonant skill, which would be perfect for Jinhsi since majority of her insane damage scales from resonant skill damage. So this weapon would be her best in slot by a long shot. There are other options that would be good but not as great as a signature weapon such as the Vedant Summit, providing 48% crit damage as the main stat, 12% increased attribute damage as I mentioned before, and up to 48% increased heavy attack damage. This weapon would be very good and worth running on Jinhsi, but it's just lacking the major buff in resonant skill damage and instead provides heavy attack damage bonus, which Jinhsi wouldn't appreciate as much. The Lustrous Razor being the final 5-star option would be solid too, providing an attack main stat, increases energy regen by 12.8% and resonance liberation damage up to 21%. However, it would definitely be more difficult to acquire that perfect crit ratio whilst using this weapon, as it provides an attack main stat. Still a strong choice for Jinhsi if you have it and you aren't looking to pick up her signature weapon. Autumn Trace would be the best 4-star option as it provides crit rate as the main stat and can increase attack up to 20% through using basic attacks or heavy attacks. Considering Jinhsi would be dealing a lot of basic attacks, this weapon would be perfect. That's if you bought the battle pass. The Helios Cleaver being the final weapon and is your last resort, providing an attack main stat and can buff your attack by an additional 12% through casting the resonant skill. However, if you are looking to main Jinhsi and considering she will have quite a bit of longevity due to her kit being unique, in my opinion it would be worth picking up her signature weapon. I would say to wait a day or two after her release to see the difference in damage between Jinhsi's signature weapon and the other options, to just be sure it's worth the Ashtrites. Now the big question, should you summon? As I mentioned in my previous video, it's kinda down to your account situation. If you skip Jiyan and you don't have Calcharo, I think Jinhsi would likely be a must summon since she would be a powerful main DPS character that your account is lacking. If you have Yinlin especially, definitely consider picking up Jinhsi since the two of them could potentially be the next best duo in the game, as Jinhsi will thrive with a sub DPS that can deal coordinated attacks. That would mean characters like Boothill and Verina will be great alongside Jinhsi too, as they can deal coordinated attacks. So if you have any of these characters built up in your account, it would be more of an incentive to pick up Jinhsi as you'll have a strong team ready for her. Jinhsi is going to be more than just a generic main DPS character that just hits hard due to the unison buff she can trigger acting like a second concerto meter. So I believe she is more superior to the other main DPS characters and will be insanely effective in destroying the guard on enemies. Also, she kinda flies, which is reason enough to pick her up. If your account has enough main DPS characters, don't feel forced into having to pick up Jinhsi, since she is literally the 3rd exclusive banner in the game, meaning there will be plenty of other characters that drop which will either deal as much damage or more. Overall, kit and design wise is definitely befitting that of the Magistrates of Jinzhou, and KuroGames have really smashed it. This would be pretty much everything to consider in the build up for Jinhsi, so if you are picking her up, I hope this helps and best of luck in your summons. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also drop a comment on whether you are picking Jinhsi up, and if so, how many Ash Rides do you have prepared. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.